In today's video, we survey the results of our recent MDF terrain building frenzy, featuring wargaming terrain kits from a host of different manufacturers in a variety of styles and for a variety of genres. Well, hi folks, this is Lee from skirmishwargames.com. Welcome to the channel. I'm here with Lynn.
Hello.
And today we're taking a brief detour from our Countdown to Stargrave series. You may have seen us open up a few old sci-fi starter sets looking for Stargrave crew members. But in the midst of that series, not only did we have the normal pandemic limitations going on, but we had a cold snap here, so it got a little chilly for about a week or so. And apparently that sent Lynn into a terrain building frenzy. She was looking for arts and crafts to do. And so in the stockpile, I happened to have a bunch of these MDF terrain kits from various manufacturers, and I'd buy a couple here, set them aside, buy a couple there, set them aside, and I started giving them to Lynn, and I'd be editing a video, and then every couple hours she'd come in and say, "Do you have anything else?" "Oh, okay, well here's another one." So this is probably about, what would you say, 3.5 days of terrain building?
Yep, about 3.5 days.
Okay, so she cleaned me out. I don't think we have any more unbuilt MDF in the house. Now, some of these kits came essentially pre-painted. Some, as you can see, are unpainted. We'll have to wait till the weather gets better. And some she's been sort of priming and putting a base coat on with those cheap crafting paints from Walmart. So here's where we are, and it's really a remarkable amount of progress in just a few days. So there's probably a hobby lesson in there for us. Just
start your project, and it'll go forward.
Yeah, just start the project. Absolutely. Sometimes that's the hardest part. So yeah, it kind of looks like you've created sort of a densely packed seaside village here, but there's a variety of genres and styles and kits from various manufacturers. So I think we have kits from Mantic, Frontline, Sarissa Precision, Foreground, Blacksite Studios, Warcradle, Micro Art Studio too. So yeah, at least 5 or 6 different manufacturers in there. So what our plan is today is we're going to talk a little bit about these kits in general, and then we'll pull them off the table and then show you each manufacturer's kits sort of individually and kind of talk about how they went together, and that'll give you a sense for maybe your own MDF building adventures. But Lynn, what got into you here? What prompted such a burst of productivity?
I needed something to craft.
So all of these kits here were assembled with just regular PVA glue, which doesn't have the same fumes, obviously, as plastic glue or super glue. And so, yeah, a good project to do in the house. So you just essentially turned on Discovery Channel and started binging some of your favorite programs, and MDF building started flying off the assembly line, so it was pretty cool. Okay, we're going to take a moment and clear the table and then sort of sort out the buildings by manufacturer, and then we'll show you each manufacturer's kits individually, and you can kind of see how it all came together. Okay, we're going to start with these 3 sizable buildings from the ITC Terrain series from Frontline Gaming. Starting from the left, I believe that is the industrial pump jack, and the piece in the middle is the field base headquarters, and the piece on the right is the field base control tower. So these are all MDF from Frontline Gaming as part of their ITC Terrain series. And so Lynn, tell me about these things. How did they come together?
These were not bad at all. These were nice and solid pieces and easy to put together. There wasn't a lot of fiddly bits. The top is made to come off so you can go inside.
Oh, okay. So the control tower itself is glued in place, but the roof of the lower level is removable. Some of these pieces are not glued together. So here it wouldn't really make that much difference because it's pretty stable. It's got a wide base on it. Here this thing would just fall over because it's so tall. So that just makes sense. But I did have one thought on these tall pieces, and these are not even the tallest pieces that you built. If it's tall like this and it's not super sturdy, I'm always afraid I'm going to accidentally backhand it, like we're going to roll some dice or move stuff around, and stuff just happens. And if I was to kind of hit that at the right angle, this little piece here would snap off and the top part would go flying across the room, or at least get knocked over. So, but on the other side of the coin, these pieces of MDF are pretty thick. So this is a sturdy kit.
Yeah, those kits are really sturdy. The MDF on those were some of the thickest that we had.
Yeah. It's funny, you built so much of this stuff that the other day I was upstairs in the living room, and I thought there must be something burning because I smelled smoke. I was trying to find where the source of the smoke was, and really the source of the smoke was your discard pile of all the MDF sprues. And so a lot of this stuff, it must be laser cut. Now this one here, the pump jack, I question the logic of this little section here. It looks a little flimsy to me, and again, I'm kind of afraid that over the course of playing a game, if someone was to smack that, with the back of a finger or something like that, unintentionally, this whole assembly would come off. But other than that, the sets seem pretty sturdy. So I wasn't exactly sure what sort of size to expect when we ordered these, but this is a nice usable size, and because the base is kind of wide and the material is pretty thick, it's pretty sturdy, so I think it's got some durability. So there's a good old-fashioned Cadian, just for scale. And when the weather warms up a little bit, we'll probably take these outside and sort of spray paint them a concrete gray, which would be really appropriate. And these would work great for your games of 40K or any military-type scenario where you need a good old-fashioned field base. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Frontline actually has a field-based mat that's designed to go with this terrain. So I think we have that somewhere, actually. Okay, so that is the ITC terrain from Frontline Gaming. And overall, well done. Yeah, I think with just a few exceptions, maybe, pieces like this that have some smaller components, I would definitely buy more terrain pieces out of this range. Okay, here we have just a single piece from Mantic. This is part of the Walking Dead All-Out War range. So this is a sturdy MDF prison tower that we opted to glue together as a single structure, except for the roof. But obviously you don't have to do it that way. Yeah, so there are a couple of ladders here which can go on the inside. And it would be no problem to sort of disassemble these sections if we wanted to kind of break that glue and then have it removable. But I think it works fine as a single piece. So there's a Cadian watching over the courtyard. And I'm not entirely sure about the scale of the Walking Dead All-Out War minis. They may be a little taller than a Cadian, but he seems to work perfectly fine with this piece of terrain. So there you go. And you said some of the other kits we'll be looking at, the roof is actually made out of cardboard or cardstock, right?
Yes, and I really hate that.
Yeah, so this is MDF, so it's pretty solid. Okay, on to the next one. So here's a trio of like post-apocalyptic type terrain pieces we got from Black Site Studio. These are pre-painted. I don't know if painted is the right word, but they have color when they show up in the kit.
Those are pretty nice.
Were these your favorites?
Second favorite.
There's a couple of Cadians there hanging out, and they may seem a little bit small compared to the building, but not too bad. So this is the Kingsley residence, which you could use for a Fallout type scenario or some type of horror type scenario. This could be the cabin in the woods. Here's an electrical pylon, which is enormously tall. We'll talk about that in a second. And then here's the entrance to the Fallout shelter, and I believe that there is a full kit available, or maybe coming up, I'm not exactly sure, that allows you to build a compound for everything that's underground beneath the entrance to the Fallout shelter. So that could be pretty cool.
These kits were pretty daunting when I opened them up. There were so many little pieces. I was terrified. But they were way easier to put together than I thought they were going to be, as long as you just follow the directions.
And the directions were not bad, right?
The directions on these were really good.
Yeah, excellent. And here's a closer look at our Cadians up on the electrical pylon. Don't fall off, guys. Yeah, this is a really nice piece of MDF engineering, and my only thought is it is so tall. It's pretty sturdy for how tall it is. I have to give them credit for that. And it'd probably be fine if you took care of it. But again, I'm afraid that in the gameplay chaos, somebody would swat it accidentally, and then that would be all over.
But it's pretty darn cool looking.
But it's pretty cool. So before this whole COVID thing hit, we went to the Model Railroading Convention and Swap Meet. And if you dig around in the Swap Meet boxes, you can pick up pieces like this. I think we literally paid $2 for this. Now it's kind of dirty and it would need some work, but it is kind of a plastic and metal piece. And, if this got thrown on the floor, it probably would survive. So there are options that cost less and are a little less fragile. Yeah, but it's hard to argue with the sheer glory of the giant electrical pylon. So I think as long as we're careful with it and nobody really backhands it off the end of the table, it should be fine.
And that Kingsley residence is just amazing. And it was just fun to put together. That's my favorite Black Site piece that we have, is the Kingsley residence.
The roof comes off.
And the doors work.
There's working doors. So yeah, if you were doing some sort of a Friday the 13th scenario or some sort of Fallout type scenario, this would be a nice building for that. Definitely. So back in the day when we could go to gaming conventions, we went to a local con and visited the Warlord Games booth. And they were selling Gangs of Rome at the time. And so we bought some terrain and some rules and some minis, which I have around here somewhere. But these are the MDF kits from Sarissa Precision. So we have the Rome Under Construction set, we have the upper rank forum corner, and the upper rank shop block. And so Lynn has built these, and she's sort of base coated them. They're not finished yet, so they're halfway done. And Lynn, what was your opinion on these kits?
Mixed.
Yeah?
The Rome Under Construction site went really well. The other two, I love the pillars. They go together really cool and come out looking cool, but I do not like the roofs and the window and door frames because they're all made out of cardstock.
Now these,
Those come off.
come off? Okay.
And I like that you can take off the levels so you can go through the buildings.
Yeah, we have a couple of time-traveling Cadians who went back to ancient Rome. And again, these aren't quite finished yet. They are a work in progress, but there you can kind of see how it all goes together.
And the ladders are so cool on the Rome Under Construction because they're slotted so they'll stay.
Oh yeah, I see it. There's a little slot on there. So they just kind of hook. So that's Rome Under Construction. All right, what's next? Okay, here are a couple of Wild West kits from Foreground, and I've had these for a while. This is the windmill and the water tower. This windmill here is actually connected by a magnet. And so that comes off like this. And I guess you could move it around if you wanted to. I wouldn't move it around too much though. This little fin on the back tends to fall off. So Lynn, even though these kits definitely have their pluses, we might describe them as kind of spindly, correct?
Yeah, these kits are pretty thin MDF. You have to be much more careful removing the MDF parts from these sheets because they are so narrow.
And this water tower is actually kind of almost made out of paper, right?
Yeah. It makes it bend a lot easier than if it was something made out of MDF.
Right. So these probably would be fine. They are not going to survive a lot of abuse.
I love the way they did the blades though.
Right. We'll just have to be gentle with them. So that is the windmill and the water tower kit from Foreground. Okay, so here we have the Wild West Exodus Western Cottages kit from Micro Art Studio. And Lynn, by and large, what do you think about this? It looks pretty sturdy.
It's pretty sturdy, and there's no cardstock pieces in there at all. It's all MDF.
Nice little set of Wild West cottages.
I like the details on the doors and the details on the shingles and all those kind of details that they have carved into it.
Little frames around the windows, frames around the doors. Yeah, you can see this is just about the right size for a Cadian. If he survives 25 years in the Imperial Guard, maybe they'll retire him to some sort of colony planet and he'll get his own little cottage to call his own. So, in general, Lynn, you like this set?
It was pretty good. It's pretty solid. And I like the way they did their corners, so they pull the corners together with those little corner things inside.
They reinforce the corners, so good on them. Sometimes when we build some of these foam sheet kits or MDF kits, we have to actually get in there with green stuff and reinforce the inside seams. But it looks like they've done that job for us in this case. All right, moving on. What's next?
The stuff from this company is definitely my favorite.
So this is Warcradle Scenics. Looks like a trading name of Wayland Games Limited. And these are relatively new, or at least new as far as we're concerned. We saw them pop up in one of the online retailers as a new release. So maybe that's the case. And they look pretty nice. So these are pre-colored MDF. And it's kind of a little fisherman's wharf here. We have the tackle shop. We have the fisherman's hut. We have these little vehicle kits. We actually got 2 of those, so we have plenty of old-timey fishermen's vehicles. And yeah, very nice. And you really got to get close in to see all the details. So there's a lot of extra things from the little sign to the benches to the lobster traps. Yeah, they've even laser burned some little fish into the fish traps here. So that's pretty cool. During this process, there was a little bit of rubber banding going on. You'd have to glue something and then kind of secure it with rubber bands and let it dry and then come back and work on it again.
Especially the roof on the green vehicles because it's curved.
Yeah, but of all the kits we've looked at in terms of attention to detail, this is probably our favorite so far. So yeah, if you were playing sort of a Prohibition era gangster game or a Cthulhu type game set in some sort of seaside village under a horrible curse, this would be a pretty cool terrain set to have.
And all the roofs come off, all the doors work on the buildings too.
Yeah, here's the fisherman's hut. The roof comes off. So Not much in there, but they did put floorboards in, so that's kind of neat.
And you can even take the net off the back.
Yeah, it just hooks on there. So yeah, kudos to Warcradle Studio. Looks like this would be a good place for a Acadian to go fishing. Okay, folks, well, that is our look at Lynn's terrain building frenzy that we had here in February 2021. So this is the result of, I don't know, 3.5, 4 days of, gluing together MDF while watching the Property Brothers Marathon. So pretty cool. And I think if there's a lesson here, like we said earlier, is sometimes just getting started is the hardest thing. And so once you get on a roll, you can really produce quite a lot of stuff. So as long as we can get some of this painted up in the spring, stuff that isn't already colorized, we should be in good shape. So Lynn, any final thoughts about your MDF terrain building frenzy?
I think we need to find some more Warcradle and Black Site MDF terrain.
Yeah, everything was nice in its own way. We don't want to pick on anybody. But Black Site and Warcradle definitely stood out, and very impressive stuff, and we'll be buying more of their kits in the future, I'm sure.
And Frontline is really good, especially if you're a beginner to start with, because the pieces come out so easy and they're so sturdy and they go together so easy.
Yeah, that's a great point. If you're just getting started with MDF terrain and want some kits to assemble easily, certainly take a look at Frontline. Okay, well, I guess that is a wrap on our great MDF terrain building frenzy. And Lynn, are you through with building MDF terrain, or do you want some more?
Always more.
Okay, more kits. Yeah, one problem with those really tall kits is they're hard to store, so I'll have to take a look at my shelving availability and see what we can do about that. Okay, folks, well, as always, thanks very much for stopping by. We hope you enjoyed today's video. If you like the things we do, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Please give this video a big thumbs up. And of course, please visit us online at our website, skirmishwargames.com, and we will see you soon.